This is Marky Mark Markellis from So Wizard Podcast, and you are listening to the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network.
Oh, come on, man.
We're trying to educate our listeners. All right.
You're giving educate. Do you know who listens to us?
Dudes.
Mm.
All right. Here we go.
Education my ass.
Are we sticking to superhero stuff, or did you want to go like all comics?
I stuck with superhero stuff.
Cool. I'll stick with superhero stuff too. Then I just wanted to make sure.
Manga was an option?
No, it wasn't. That's why I asked.
Damn it.
All right, let's get this back on track.
One Punch Man would have gone to the top directly.
Stop
What would you
talking,
punch?
John, did you
Why would
figure
you
out this
punch a man?
Yes, I know exactly how this works. We say a bunch of stuff, and then you've already started the recording, and then you add that to the to the recording that you send out, because it's
a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, usually to put me in a bad light, but yeah, which is fine.
Certainly isn't hard.
Nope, not at all.
All right, we're good. Dave, did we lose Dave?
I'm waiting for you guys to stop.
I'm done.
Dude, we're never gonna stop.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people, right? You want people to care. You want to strike emotions, and I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
quarter
too.
pounder with cheese and France, Mickey? What? Boy ale with cheese. Yeah. I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice up my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success?
Hey, everyone! You're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host, Dave.
And another thing, and John.
And JD.
The band's back together. Oh, my God.
Oh.
Just getting started is a headache. I mean, how are you guys? How are you, John? We missed you last week.
I'm good. I made it through visiting my sister and, hanging with my nephews and teaching them more Dungeons and Dragons and tactics, and still sheltering kind of with my sister in that case, and it's all good. Not much to report, which works for me.
Okay.
Oh, and I saw the comet. Comet's awesome.
The comet. There was a comet?
I don't know. Is it still? There is a comet. It is brighter than Halley's Comet, and I don't know if it's still out now. I think, I might not be able to see it from where we are.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't been paying attention to stuff like that. How about you, JD? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. Life is good.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I'm all right. No problems. Enjoying my new home. Writing
That's
some
good.
more. Had some epiphanies with the writing thing that are really making things more interesting. I've had to realign a little bit, but busy but good.
That's good. That's good.
How many boxes are you going to leave closed this time until the next time you move?
The garage is full right now. We emptied out the storage locker last week, and my wife and I just decided not to move any boxes this weekend. What we did do is my dog kept eating. We built a little, like I told you guys before the show started, I built a little dog enclosure up the side of my house because we didn't want to fence this big yard. Mm-hmm. So we built a little dog enclosure. We made a space for them off the deck, and they're not getting a hint of that they should not poop on the deck. So this is a struggle. But when the dog has been down there, he's been eating these hosta plants, and they've been making him insanely sick. He's a dumb dog. He's 14, and he doesn't know he's not supposed to. So we spent the weekend ripping them out of the ground and replacing them with sod. And it actually looks a lot better now that we got rid of all these ugly plants. So happy about that.
Cool. You're already landscaping. How Minecraft
we started. Oh, no, my wife is a landscaping machine. We moved in like almost day one. She was like, okay, we're going to do this, take out that down, do that. Like, there will be landscaping projects until we move.
Nice.
Hopefully that's not anytime soon.
Hopefully.
Moving sucks.
Moving sucks. It's not. I mean, like I've been doing it since the end of May, and I'm tired of it.
Oh, yeah.
How are you, Dave?
How am I? Oh, jeez. Life sucks and then you die.
Well, mazel tov to you too. I mean,
I'm doing all right. I came to an epiphany this week is that I am definitely not ready to date. I don't have any desire to right now. And
what man is truly ready to date?
Well, I had said a while ago that I had joined a couple dating sites just to kind of see what was out there, and it was like, you know, a couple women that I've talked to, and I'm like, right away, I'm always like, you know, I'm still not sure. Like, I need to take things slow. I just want to talk for a while to see where things can go. And like, they're like, no, we got to meet, you know, and like it just seems like people within my age range, the women are getting very aggressive quickly. Like, no, I want to meet. And it's like, nah, I'm not ready for that. And then, you know, they lose interest to move on. So,
well, that is kind of like a good way to weed out like some, because I've had that same thing. And the ones that are like, yes, let's meet now. Well, when? Well, how about an hour from now? It's like, you do know there's a pandemic going on, right?
I don't even care about the pandemic. My whole thing is like, I'm just not, like, I want to get to know you before we, you know.
Oh, before they know what you look like and what your license plate is? Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's part of it.
Definitely.
And I just feel like when they're in such a hurry, it's like, you're, you know, because we're older, you're in a hurry to like start a relationship now. And it's like, I'm not sure I'm ready for that. So
my biological clock isn't only ticking, it actually like
exploded.
Self-destructed. Yes.
So
it counted all the way down.
So I've decided that I'm just not gonna do that right now. I'm gonna concentrate on me and keep going to the gym and eventually I'll have my Chris Hemsworth body and then maybe I'll be ready.
Good going and keep doing it, man.
Yeah, so that's my life in a nutshell.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. So speaking of nutshells,
speaking of nuts,
let's do a little social media madness. Just a couple things this week. I kind of wanted to bring this one up because last year. And there hasn't been any news on this since it was announced last year. There was an announcement that they were going to be doing a remake of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for Hulu.
If they do it as well as they did, was it Good Omens? Then yes.
Which is probably what you said last year when we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
But we had someone reply to a tweet from last year.
Wow.
On this. That's why I brought it up.
Emphasizing the madness in social media.
I'll never understand how people respond to like even months old tweets, let alone like year old tweets.
How do you even find them? You'd have to scroll for like forever to get down that far.
Or you're just looking for it on purpose. Like he was just Googling, he was just like Twitter searching Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah.
Even stranger because Dave spelled it wrong.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Hashtag facts.
And it's John Panter, P-A-Y-N-T-E-R. He's at John Panter 1970. And he said, no, because it will be Disneyfied, Americanized, absolute bollocks. I hope this guy's British.
I'm going to... Yanks didn't have a good track record for adapting British IPs. He's not wrong, by the way. So I'm going to guess this is someone from the jolly old UK.
Well,
take an example.
If he really was, he would have said it would be pants, not bullocks. So
take an example of an absolute abortion, which was Red Dwarf USA and Life on Mars USA, which is in every way a travesty. I've only seen the British version of Red Dwarf.
I didn't know there was an American.
No, I saw the USA version, and I don't know how many years of therapy it took, but like they're just you can't. There are some British properties that just cannot be Americanified. It just does not translate because British humor is very, very clipped and very in your face, and it just American humor doesn't work very well with it.
All right, and apparently the link is wrong on the next one.
Oh.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Okay, so we had talked about. I know what the tweet says. We had talked about Hellstrom last week, of course. The preview came out for it, and we kind of said we were a little interested, whatnot. And our good friend Tim Jones replied and said, "I also heard it's called Son of Satan. I'm not sure I'm going to watch it. It looks like hell."
Oh God.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a dad joke if I've ever heard one.
We had Tim on the Story Builder podcast a couple weeks ago. It'll be out in like a month, and he's quite good with the dad jokes.
So that one was for you, Tim. Yes.
Oh yeah, some sour grapes.
And then finally, we had talked about the rumor that there's going to be a Batman Beyond movie that's going to feature 2 Jokers. We talked about how that could be possible. Maybe it starts off in the past with Batman and there's a Joker and then there's a new Joker in the future, whatever. We had a couple people respond to that. Of course, we had Town Wap, the one nerd with, so I guess that's another podcast, said, "No need for 2 Jokers. You need one good one," which I agree. Yeah. And the Wednesday poll list said, "Man, I hope not. Give the Joker a little bit of a break. People act like that's Batman's only enemy. Blight is a solid villain for Terry." So I brought it up because I knew you were back this week, John, and I know you watched Batman Beyond. If you were going to do a live-action Batman Beyond movie, what villain do you think they should use?
A live-action Batman Beyond. Ink would be a top of the list.
Yeah. Okay.
And Blight. And the nice thing about Batman Beyond is you could also bring back Mr. Cold. Damn it. Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze, yeah.
Oh my God.
Because the thing is that the storyline for Mr. Freeze in Batman Beyond is so tragic and deep that it would make it a very, very good movie.
One could say something about the Paul Dini Mr. Freeze episode of Batman the Animated Series, which Akiva Goldsmith based loosely on when he did his version of Batman and Robin, and we all know how that went.
Oh yeah, well and Bruce Timm's Adventures of Batman, they did the whole arc with Mr. Freeze there, and then Mr. Freeze in Batman Beyond.
Oh my God.
And there was a movie in between too, and it was really the whole storyline. Just I think Bruce Timm and company were actually ones that kind of reinvented and reinvigorated that villain, because they made you care about him. So that would make a very good one. And Blight, to a lesser extent, yeah, I think Ink and Mr. Freeze would be top of my list.
I'm just laughing because I've been watching the pitch meetings on YouTube, like all of them, and I literally just today watched the one for Batman and Robin, and the guy pitching the movie at one point goes, and then he's going to pull out his Bat credit card. And then the producer guy gives a weird look, and he's like, "Are you okay, sir?" And he's like, "My eyes just rolled themselves."
Yeah. The pitch meetings by Square Internet, everybody should watch those. They're awesome. Like and subscribe them. But yeah, but that's my picks. I'd say Mr. Freeze and Ink, because their storylines are more tragic, and they could possibly have a beginning, middle, and end.
Well, speaking of things you should subscribe to that are tragic, here's our good friend D Squared to tell you how you can find more social media madness.
Damn.
Enjoying the show? Want to be part of social media madness? Make sure you are following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the show's social media links at the top of the page. While you're there, you can check out old episodes of the podcast as well as some other great content. Check the site often, because we are posting some great comic reviews as well as comic book and movie news content every day. Make sure and follow us on Twitter @SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. You can follow them @stars_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Cult 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Search for #GWAllstars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
Well, thank you for that, Don. We really appreciate you. What?
That was a hard hit. That was a hard hit.
I wasn't saying anything about Don. That was about us.
No, yeah, I'm sure. Yes.
And on that note, boys and girls, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, there is not a lot of news. That's why we have a discussion topic to talk about, but we have four quick hits.
Well, before that, I want to say something. JD?
Yo?
Are the New Mutants coming out yet?
Not yet.
Damn,
it's coming. Hey, man, everyone's caught up with me. There's more interest in this product now than at any point during this 3 years that it's been a thing.
And I just saw a promo for it again. That's why I asked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I obviously didn't listen to the show last week where we went on.
I was going to say, we talked about it quite a bit last week.
Mm.
Maybe you should listen to our show once in a while.
Nah.
I'm listening it to now, Dave.
Speaking of strange and weird things, and things that shouldn't be, did you guys see the trailer for the live action Pinocchio?
Oh God.
No, I missed that part of the email.
The just nightmares, man. The stuff of nightmares.
Okay, so
while JD's doing that,
while JD's damaging his mind, it just
JD, just speak out while you're listening to it.
Okay. I'm gonna mute you guys for a minute so I can listen to this show.
Okay, but just let us hear your reaction. You don't have to listen to us, but oh my God. So yes, you were saying.
Yeah, it felt like someone said, okay, let's take the full story from the 1940s cartoon, and let's add a dash of realism and keep all the creepiest elements from the original movie.
Yeah, and if they do it to the original movie, there were things in that original movie that they could not put in an animated show these days. That they wouldn't. And yeah, and then you add that. Well,
are you sure you're not confusing it with Dumbo?
No, Pinocchio.
Okay.
No, did you like the donkey thing? And I mean, there were some dark undertones in that thing.
Did you watch the trailer?
Yeah, I know.
The donkey thing's in.
I know. That's what I'm saying. There are things that you couldn't put in. You couldn't put in an anime movie, and yet they're doing this. I don't know. Did they just finally find that highest level of coke that you can do at Disney? I don't understand.
Well, this isn't a Disney movie. I think that's an important thing to point out. This is and it's funny because it just says 2022 in the trailer. There is no release date, which has me kind of concerned. Or 2020, not 2022. 2020.
You're saying this is the New Mutants? The new.
Well, there's like, is it going to come out because no theaters are open? So is this going to be right on streaming? Is this going to be a Redbox thing? Is this?
You know what we should have? They should do a whole movie on Pinocchio from Shrek.
So I just watched Pinocchio trailer.
Yeah.
This looks fantastic.
Fantastic in oh my God, this is so bad it's good?
No, I think it looks, it looks weird. It looks very Tim Burton-y, like it's totally right out of the book of Burton. It seems to be following the original book and not just the Disney stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It looks nightmare-inducing, and I think I want to see it.
It's very creepy. I don't know if I could ever let a small child see this movie.
Oh, God, no. The kid's not seeing this, but I think I'm going to.
I don't even know if I would let my 18-year-old.
I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it's
creepy.
It's like I said to John a minute ago, someone said, let's take all the creepy elements and keep those in place, and let's add a dash of realism. And it's like,
let's take the creepy elements. I'm Italian, so I can do that. Like I said, I was shocked to find out this wasn't a Tim Burton film. But I don't know, man. The book is pretty creepy, or the original stories, I should say, are pretty creepy. They're pretty dark. So okay, I'm good.
Or Guillermo del Toro. I was shocked it wasn't him either.
It doesn't. Like he's not involved in this at all. Like I'm surprised he's not on as like a producer or something.
You sure it's not one of his like was it proteges or anything? Or
it might be, but his name isn't anywhere. I mean, it's an Italian, and Del Toro's Mexican, so no, I don't know, man. I mean, like I'm shocked, but it's definitely somebody who studied Burton and Del Toro filmmaking. Like,
definitely.
So this Matteo Garrone, I'm not terribly familiar with his work. Perhaps I should fix that.
Yeah, and it almost seems like in one scene in the trailer, like you hear Pinocchio's voice, but his mouth doesn't move, and I'm like, oh, I hope that's not a thing, because that's gonna just add super creepiness to it. So
it's gonna be fun. It's a purely an Italian, like literally an Italian film. Like everyone involved in this is like straight out of Italy. Like this is intriguing, man.
All right, well we'll keep our eyes open, and maybe we'll do a special episode where we review it if it ever comes out. Speaking of things that we have talked about on the show, Watchmen and Mandalorian have gotten great Emmy nods this year. Watchmen 26 and Mandalorian 15. So
Watchmen clean up, man.
So this has led to people going, well, does this mean we'll get a season 2 of Watchmen since it's got 26 nominations?
But it was like, as far as I understand, it was a complete enclosed story, right?
It was.
It was.
So
was The Matrix, but
no. So was Watchmen, like the book. Like it picks up 30 years after the book in a world that you can go, yeah, I could buy that's the same world. Now, according to Lindelof, it's a no. He doesn't want to come back to it because none of the people he worked with are interested in coming back. But he said he has his blessing if somebody else comes along with the right idea.
Yeah. No, and I get it. I mean, I think that's a better way to be artistically. Like, I told my story and I'm done.
Yeah, you know? And plus, like, when you come up with such a great storyline, a great idea, like, you know, to be self-introspective enough to understand that, yes, this was a great story. I cannot follow that up with crap, you know, so don't just, like, spew out anything for the next season. Like most people don't realize that, and they'll just keep on, you know, keep the fire hose running until the crud comes out.
HBO made that mistake like a decade ago with True Detective. The first season of True Detective is damn near perfect storytelling. True Detective season 2 fell way short of that.
Yeah.
So I think HBO's kind of learned their lesson of, well, we're better off with one awesome season than. Did they ever do a season 3 of True Detective? I don't even remember.
That's how bad season 3 was?
Well, I'm saying I don't remember if, like. But season 2 turned people off so much. I don't think if they did do a season 3, no one remembers it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I never watched it, so.
True Detective season 1's really good. Really good.
Or it's like the final season of Game of Thrones.
I'm in the minority on that. I really enjoyed that, but it seems like most people didn't. So.
The last season sucked.
But
the last season was basically written by the people doing the series and, you know, had no book for it, so.
According to them, Martin gave him the end, so possible. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, sure.
Is he ever even going to finish these books? Like, it's a great flex. Just like, you can finish my stories.
Yeah, he's on the Robert Jordan track. You know, the Wheel of Time. I don't know if you know who Robert Jordan is.
I know of Robert Jordan. Never read Robert Jordan, though.
Yeah, he wrote like 900 page books, and like you'd read 10 pages that described a drop of dew falling off of a leaf. But the thing is that he died before he could finish it because like it was originally supposed to be a trilogy. Then it became a quadrilogy. Then it became, 8 books, and then he died. and now somebody else is ghostwriting for him.
Yeah. Literally, ghostwriting takes on a new meaning when you're dead.
Oh,
true.
Well,
this is true.
Speaking of things that aren't dead. Okay, that didn't work. I'm off tonight with the transition.
Usually you're the master of the segue.
So we did get a little bit of Disney news that apparently this came out, I think a week ago. We didn't talk about it last week. They are going to be resuming production of Miss Marvel in November. That's when principal photography was going to start. Should be finished early next year. But in this announcement, they also said that Miss Marvel will pop up in other properties before her show comes on TV.
They really are going to work all of this, aren't they? This extended universe thing.
That's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they're known for.
Yep.
So it's interesting because this kind of plays into a rumor that we talked about last week, where there are going to be multiple Avenger characters in the next Captain Marvel movie. And in the comics, Miss Marvel is a Captain Marvel fangirl. She's kind of like what inspires her to become a hero. So,
is that canon or
in the comics? Yeah. So
that's canon.
So that's led people to go, well, maybe Miss Marvel's going to be in Captain Marvel too. What do you guys think? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think they should just concentrate on Captain Marvel and not throw anyone else in? But I don't think Marvel could do that anymore.
Yeah, I think Marvel's capable of not crossing things over. I really don't. But that being said, why not? Sure. I mean, like, if they have the story and she fits into the story, that's great. If they just do like a walk-on where she's like, yeah, Miss Marvel, yada-da-da-da-da, and then walks away, like Joss was doing in Avengers 2, like, then I'm not interested.
Yeah. I mean, I could see them making it a kind of a Miss Marvel origin story. Have her in there as just a regular girl who's a fangirl, and something happens towards the end of the movie that leads to her getting her powers. And then that leads into the TV show. But
the TV show is going to come up before Captain Marvel 2 movie, isn't it?
I don't know, because they haven't announced who Miss Marvel is going to be, but they're filming in November.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they have to have, and we don't have a Captain Marvel script, I don't think. And, like, film productions aren't up and going yet. So, I mean, like, if she shows up in a Captain Marvel movie, she's going to be Miss Marvel. It's going to beat it to this. Like, TV production is such shorter time than film production.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing would be she pops up in The Winter Soldier or what's the Vision? What's it called?
the WandaVision. Or do you think she'll pop up in the movies too? Like is it the Madness? Was it Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah,
possibly.
They haven't made it yet though. Like this is all. The TV shows are what they're actively working on.
Right.
Like, WandaVision's done, I believe, or at least it was in editing. Like, yeah. I don't think it's going to work to have Miss Marvel show up before,
No, that's true.
I mean, technically, Captain Marvel showed up before, right?
No, Captain Marvel first shows up in her own movie.
Well, yeah, that's right, because they recorded her before she did.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, movie timeline versus real timeline.
Right.
We all got COVID brain. Forget what's going on.
Because the after credits scene in Infinity War is the beeper, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So she doesn't actually show up in that one. It's
But I think they filmed her appearance in Endgame before she filmed the movie.
Right.
They should have let the person who directed her in Endgame direct her in the movie. She would have had a lot more personality.
Also true.
Speaking of directors, did you guys share the news about Kevin Smith?
I did. Listen to his show yesterday and just learn this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, apparently he's in a new phase of his life where he just wants to make cartoons. So he's teaming up with Wildbrain, and he is going to be doing a Green Hornet animated series, which, I mean, that's not surprising. He's written quite a few Green Hornet stories for the comics. And
well, the comics were adapted from his script for the never-made Miramax Green Hornet film.
Yes, that is true. And then, he's also working on the He-Man Masters of the Universe cartoon. So I don't know. Do we like this idea? Do we want to see a Kevin Smith Green Hornet cartoon? And are we scared?
I don't know. Seth Rogen did Green Hornet, so
it was bad. Let's forget it. Let's forget Seth Rogen.
I was going to say
Abomination.
And are we scared that he's? Are we
Jar Jar Binks?
Are we scared he's going to cast a bunch of his friends again?
For animation, that's not a problem.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess you can have Jay say a couple lines of a character, and it's not too bad. I don't know. I mean, I hated the Seth Rogen movie, but
yeah, it was bad. I couldn't even make it through it. I was looking for something fun to watch, and that did not fit the bill.
So yeah, we'll have to see. The jury's out on this one for me. Wait till it gets a little closer. But we also have a history of Kevin Smith announcing projects that never get made.
Yes, that's true. I mean, like, animation is different though. You don't announce things until work is actually being done. You know?
True.
And comics and films are different.
Unlike New Mutants.
It's done.
The work was done.
The thing. You're going to be so mad when this movie's fucking awesome, and I'm going to sit there and say, I told you so for 3 years.
I know, right? But
it's
how many
be
edits has
great.
Gone through already?
Doesn't matter. All that matters is the one that you see. Doesn't matter how many times.
Unless
Star Wars would not have worked without a good editor. Unless
you're Zack Snyder.
Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. There's exceptions that create the rule. No, I think this is... Sorry, the 4-year-old invaded the office while you guys were talking.
Yes.
I am excited by this. I think that we never really got to see what he was going to do with the Green Hornet film. It can't be any worse than what Seth Rogen did. So, I don't know, man. He seems to... His books are good. When he writes mainstream superhero stuff, he treats it with reverence, and it's not full of, dick jokes. So, I mean, what can go wrong here?
Yes.
Don't ask that question.
But it's the Green Hornet.
Other than Batman peeing his pants, but that's a whole nother...
That makes sense, though. That's scientifically logical. I don't know if I would have put it in a book myself, but his Green Arrow run was really good.
Yeah.
His Daredevil stuff was great. I think this could be really good. As long as they treat Kato properly, because Kato was the star.
Yeah, true. That's...
I thought he was the sidekick. What are you talking about?
Hell no. Kato's the star. It's the Kato show.
Yeah.
Right.
He was what made that work, especially in the...
To be fair, he was Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
This is true. Speaking of things that work and don't work, we've decided that we need to talk about comic books more on this podcast, because we're supposed to be a comic book podcast.
No, I agree with that. I think we had a good time talking about it last week. It came up in conversation, and it was fun.
Yes. So I think we need to we need to do that. So we've decided this week we're gonna talk about what our favorite comics or most influential comics were to us growing up, I guess, or even it could be something you read recently. I don't know. So I asked everyone to pick 3, and just give a quick synopsis of the book, and then why it's one of your favorites. And it doesn't have to be your top 3. It could just be 3 ones that you picked. So, since JD, this was your idea, you can go first.
I'm kind of going to go in reverse order here.
Okay.
One of my favorite, and I mentioned it before on the show, one of my favorite runs in comics when I first really started getting back into being a Wednesday Warrior and stuff like that, when Grant Morrison was writing Batman. And I remember it was when my wife and I got married, and I was delivering pizzas to make extra money on the side, and when we didn't have to deliver stuff, I would just go to Barnes & Noble and I would just read comics. And that's kind of what got me back into buying comics again. And it was right when Grant Morrison started writing Batman. And it really made me, because for a long time I didn't really like reading Batman comics because they all felt the same. Batman's mad. There's some vigilante. He's a vigilante. There's some problem. They all just, they fall into the same pattern. What I really liked about Grant Morrison was that he came into Batman and instead of trying to make things as real as possible and as grounded as possible, Morrison said, no, everything happened. All these Batman stories, the entire goofy Silver Age, it was a thing, but it was a hallucination Batman was doing. So, it comes back in, the story of the Batman from Zarnar, when, I'll just start again. the first thing Grant Morrison does is great. He brings us the character of Damian Wayne, who never should have worked, but it's been 15 years, and Damian Wayne is a bigger part of comics than ever, and he's transcended into real media now, like film, television. There's Damian Wayne's for real. He introduced the Black Glove, which was pretty much the Court of Owls before Scott Snyder ripped it off. You know, he brought in he brought back, I should say, the League of his team of heroes with Knight and Squire and Chief Man of Bats, and he made it all make sense in Batman Incorporated. And one of my favorite Batman stories was Batman R.I.P. and what was done with it when Dick Grayson finally ascends to become Robin, when Dick Grayson ascends and becomes Batman, and the story of Bruce Wayne bouncing through time and becoming multiple versions of himself.
Oh, Pirate
Batman was awesome. I like the noir Batman where he's a noir, like a hard-boiled detective, was a lot of fun. Morrison has this irreverent, bonkers British imagination. He's Scottish actually, but UK imagination that shouldn't have worked on Batman as well as it did. And I know it's incredibly polarizing, but I think at the end of it, when that 3 or 4 year run he had on Batman, it's some stuff that really kind of changed the face of the character and the property for good. It's some of my favorite comics ever.
Cool. All right. John?
There was an assignment? No. Okay. All right. I'll start with The Dark Knight Returns, but, written by Frank Miller, illustrated by Miller and Klaus Johnson. And yeah, in 1986, came out in 1986. It was like one of the first, graphic novels or, the series that I actually was cognizant of when it came out. And, my grandmother at the time was into buying me books and comic books and stuff. And, yeah, it was kind of insane because, here I am a kid and it's like, oh, these are comics. And I'm reading it. I'm like, this is a comic? And it was the first time I realized that comics weren't just like, something to read and throw away and just, just skim, this, there was a lot of depth. There was a ton of depth to it. So yeah, that's one of the first ones. The second one is All-Star Superman.
We're still like a...
Oh, whoa.
What?
Pump your brakes, dude. We're doing one at a time.
One at a time.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
So.
Fine.
Okay, so let me quiet. Shh.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now let me paint you a picture. All right, let's go back to...
Sicily. Sorry, wrong show.
Sibilance?
Let's go back to the 1980s when I was a lad. And,
Sorry. Need a little take on me if you're going to do that.
So when I was, I want to say 13, 14, I would go to the first, it started with the spinner rack in I believe the Wawa near my house. We get a comic every once in a while, right? Because that's what it was. And it would just be like, oh, there's an interesting cover for a Captain America. There's an interesting cover for a Spider-Man, or there's an interesting Batman cover. And I would just buy it. I would go home and read it, and that was that. And then, my brother who's 2 years older than me, when he started working at 16, so I was 14, he would start taking me every once in a while to a comic book shop. Ooh, and I was like, oh wow, they have all the comics here. In 1989, there was a series that came out. It was Captain America, the Bloodstone Hunt.
Oh, yeah.
So, it was, hold on, I want to make sure I got the details here right. Where's I don't have it. Oh, shoot, it doesn't say. So, the Bloodstone Hunt was a 6-part series, and basically the story is Baron Zemo wants to bring his father back to life, and he can use the Bloodstones to do it, right? So, Captain America gets wind of this, and he's hunting him down. They're trying to get the stones before Zemo to stop him from doing it, right? And it's, written by Mark Grunwald and art by Kieran Dwyer, D-W-Y-E-R, and L.
Dwyer.
Dwyer, okay, yeah. and Al Milgrom. And like, I was actually like really interested in this story, and it was like, the next month I was like, I gotta go back and get part 2. And the next month it's like, I gotta go back and get part 3. It was this was what got me into like, I've got to collect this book monthly so I can continue with the story. Because it was a 6-part story. And I wanted to see, does he stop Baron Zemo? Does he get the stones before him? I mean, it's Captain America. Of course he did, boys and girls. Let's be serious. But yeah, so like, that's what influenced me. That's what got me to be like a regular collector of a series at that point. So I could continue a story. So yeah. So it influenced me in that way.
Good stuff. That's a good run. Mark Gruenwald, Captain America stuff is legendary.
Oh, definitely.
Good work. Which kind of leads me into my second favorite run. One of them. When right around the same time I was really digging on when Morrison's Captain America, I just kind of gave a spoiler what I'm going to talk about. It was announced, the whole Civil War thing was announced, and I thought it was pretty gimmicky, so I didn't buy into it at first until I heard that Captain America was going to die, and then I again thought, well, that's pretty damn gimmicky. So, but I did get a chance to look at the first trade for Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which started Ed Brubaker's run on the book. And I remember, actually I take that back, I knew about that back when it first came out and didn't like it. I immediately poo-pooed the idea of bringing Bucky Barnes back to life. Because I'm like, that is one that's like, Bucky and Uncle Ben are the Marvel characters that should always stay dead. And this is a terrible idea. And I remember down the hall at DC, they were doing the actual story where Jason Todd came back to life. Mm-hmm. The Red Hood thing. And in retrospect, the DC's version of bringing Jason Todd back paled in comparison to what Ed Brubaker gave to the Marvel Universe. Bucky Barnes had not really played much of a role since Stan Lee and Jack Kirby rebirthed the Marvel Universe. Bucky was dead. Bucky was going to stay dead. You kept Bucky dead, and there didn't seem to be a good reason not to. Ed Brubaker recreated him as the Winter Soldier, a character so successful, not only has he appeared in movies, but he's going to have his own TV show coming up. And he created such a compelling character in the Winter Soldier and gave Cap something else to do. Because, I mean, like, the Bloodstone Hunt's a cool story, but it's like a typical superhero story.
Right.
Brubaker's Captain America felt more like an espionage thing, like a spy story with dudes that happen to wear costumes. Mm-hmm. It just had a different flavor to it. And the entire run is great. Like, I don't love the death of Captain America, but I did like the fallout where Bucky becomes the new Cap, because you get a whole bunch of really good stories that come out of that, and the relationship between Bucky and Black Widow. It's really interesting, and I didn't love the return of Steve Rogers story. I think Brubaker got a little Morrison-y with how he brought Steve Rogers back, and I don't think that's what he's at his best at. Like, Morrison, they were both really bonkers, like, metaphysical type resurrections. Mm-hmm. The Cap resurrection, like, worked better, but Brubaker came back and he made Steve Rogers a super soldier, and he kept the ball going with Bucky as Cap because it worked so damn well, and people weren't ready for it to be done yet. And it's a testament that Brubaker took over Captain America in 2004. It's 2020, and we're still feeling the impact of that story. And it's very rare that in the modern era, one run of comics can have that much impact on the entire direction of a character.
Yeah.
So I love that run.
It's funny because I'm glad I picked multiples. I didn't pick Civil War. I was going to put Civil War on it because that was the series that got me back into it. But it's also because of the fallout and the Brubaker run on Captain America, which is, well, I was going to mention that, but yeah, so I'm glad I have multiples. And I also was going to say The Dark Knight Returns. So, John, what is your number 2?
My number 3 is, number 2, right. So my number 2 is All-Star Superman, written by Grant Morrison, drawn by Frank Quitely, I believe, and inked by Jamie Grant. And this, Superman's really hard to write for, because, it's the same old, right? Like, you need somebody to challenge him And unless they're green and glowing, they're not challenging him very well. And so, like, the writing usually goes off the tracks, or there's some kind of deus ex machina or whatever. This story is about Superman dying and facing mortality. And the way they wrote this, the way Grant Morrison wrote this, was just brilliant. And he wrote it from 3 different perspectives, from Superman's perspective, from Lois's, and from Lex Luthor. And, yeah, I think it was the end that really got me. And spoilers, right? Yeah, because whatever. You should buy it no matter what, because there's so much in this. Like, even if I give you one spoiler, there's so many others. But like towards the end, Luthor finally grabs a formula that Superman had made to give somebody his powers for a day. And the way they handled Luthor gaining Superman's powers and the paradigm shift that occurred when he started to see the world the way Superman saw it and realized that everything was connected. I think like that is a perfect example of the great weakness of true evil in our world, is a person's inability to see things from other people's perspectives or to see that everything is connected. And Grant put this in a comic book and did it so well that you actually felt sorry for Luthor in the end. And he almost redeemed the character after all the evil he had done. So yeah, that plus, just handling the reactions of everybody, of Lois, and, how she handled him dying, and I don't know. There's so much, but so there. Yeah. Everybody should read All Star Superman. It is probably, I think it's probably one of the, if not one of, then the best Superman story ever told.
I agree with that. It's definitely top 3 Superman story ever told. Morrison wrote that book incongruent with the Batman run that I had talked about earlier. Also doing 7 Soldiers of Victory while helping out on 52. Like, this was I think Grant Morrison's best run doing mainstream characters, because he took on so much and was really, at that time, him and Jeff Johns were really defining what the DC universe was. And this is definitely like mid to late aughts is definitely my favorite helping of Morrison stuff.
Yeah, and he was on point. Like, he was throwing truth left and right and just breaking people's minds when they read his stuff. That book in particular is it's an unapologetically Silver Age Superman. Yes.
Like the one that everyone's afraid to talk about because he juggles planets. Well, not only can he's doing it on the cover of one of the books. Mm-hmm. They embrace it. They embrace all the beauty and bizarreness and godliness that makes Superman. But still has that human touch to him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It wasn't the fact that he could juggle planets. Like, the storyline didn't revolve around that. It revolved around facing mortality and interpersonal interactions and the juxtaposition of good and evil. It was just, he could be as powerful as you want at that point. It didn't matter because the storyline was driven by everything else.
So it's humanity. I think that's the biggest problem with Superman, is the character itself is fine, but the people that write it, and I think more or less the people that sell it, focus on super and not enough on man.
Yeah. And the nice thing in this is, usually in a Superman story, Lois is there to keep Superman grounded. But in this case, when he gave the formula to Lois, what he was doing was making sure that when he passed away, there was somebody there who would know what it had been like for him.
Somebody might have taken a little bit of inspiration from that in another recent television show, just, for the record. Watch the eggs.
What?
Watchmen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
the whole Dr. Manhattan, oh God, I blanked on her name, Sister Midnight thing reminded me a lot of this version of Superman and Lois Lane, and that's exactly what you talked about. It's exactly what I thought when I watched the final episode of Watchmen. It reminded me a lot of that.
All right. Well, that's an interesting segue, because my next book was written by Alan Moore, art by Dave Gibbons, and I can only be talking about one possible book. And of course, that's The Watchmen.
Silver platter, Dave. I gave it to you on a silver platter.
Wonderful. So first thing I want to say is, like, it came out in 1986, right? The miniseries. We've talked about this book ad nauseum on this podcast. Of course, it was Alan Moore wanted to. It's a deconstruction of superheroes. He wanted to use the Fawcett characters, I believe.
The
Charlton characters, and DC bought them, but then he had to create his own characters for the book. Long story short, of course, the book starts off with the murder of the comedian. Rorschach is investigating it. We find out Asmodeus is the mastermind behind it all, and he wants to create a disaster to bring mankind together. And it's funny because, like, I didn't read this book until I was in my 20s.
Me too.
Because as a kid, I wasn't ready to read something that deconstructed superheroes. Even though everyone I knew read it and loved the book, I was like, nah, I like Superman and Captain America. I'm not ready to look at the dark side of superheroes. And, but yeah, I mean, it's deep. And I honestly say to anyone who's never read it and maybe has only seen the movie, like, go out and read it and read the whole thing, not just the main story, because there's 3 levels to it. There's the letters, the main book, and then the comic within the comic, which is the pirate story. And how they work, and Alan Moore said it only works as a comic, and he's right. Like, it does not work as a movie. So, but yes.
It's so funny. About a month ago, when I think it was right when I finished the show, I praised it on Twitter, saying, "Oh, it's so good." I said it's worthy of the comic. I said it was similar but different enough. Like, they brought new life to a great story. And someone actually, like a blue checkmark guy, actually went on and said, "How can you compare this good a television series being written by Alan Moore?" And I'm like, I had to stare at it for a minute. Like, is this guy being serious? Like, and he was. He's like, this story, like, how can you do that? How can you compare these two? And I'm like, because they are kind of the same thing. Like, Alan Moore's story is really about the face of fascism in the 1980s and the rise of people becoming a little comfortable with fascism, with, security in exchange for some freedom. And in 2020, it's interesting they took the race spin, because that's with Black Lives Matter, so that's been very topical and something that we need to turn our attention to. So I said they both told a similar story with issues that were important in that era. And I said Moore's story doesn't work as a film. So if all you've ever done is watch the movie, you're not going to get it.
Right.
Like, it's not bad, but it's also not that good. And you miss so many levels by just, like, if you skip all the pirate stuff and don't read the book entries, you miss so much of the story.
Right. And how things were, how they got to where they are, the rise of fascism and people accepting it. Yes. Like, you miss all of that. You don't understand. And that gets thrown out because they do a couple quick flashbacks in the movie that don't really explain
or make any sense, really.
Yeah.
Like, Zack Snyder's the worst. I mean, we dog on him a lot on this show, but he was just the wrong kind of director to bring that story to life. Like, it looked great. Like, the fights and stuff like that, like, it looked really cool, but you missed all that subtext. And just throwing Simon and Garfunkel into a montage doesn't right. cover the ground that was Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons tread. It was so simplistic and in my mind missed the point.
Well, that's the thing. He misses the point. All he does is give you the visuals that we crave, but none of the connecting tissue to make it actually work.
Right. And like, it's like the people that say, "Oh man, Rorschach's such an awesome character. What a badass." It's like, you missed the entire point of that whole thing. Like, it astounds me. But I think that's the cool part about that show is it gave such a great launching pad. Like, they took such interesting turns in that show. They were all literally based on the comic. They're all, yeah.
I'll argue that it could maybe work as a miniseries.
Yes, I think it could. With the right... Yeah, I agree with that. If HBO actually adapted Watchmen, and did right by it, it could work.
Right. But yeah, a 2-hour movie, no, it doesn't work. And Zach, if you're listening and you want to come on the show and defend your choices and that movie, you're always welcome.
Yeah, well, I'd be more than welcome to let you tell me I'm an idiot. So please boost our numbers. Did you see the director's cut of the Watchmen movie? Where they actually do the pirate, I can't remember the pirate boat, but they actually do the animated pirate stuff and they edit it into the movie?
No, I actually don't think I've ever watched that.
Yeah, you think it'd be better, but it's really not.
Yeah, no. Because I know that obviously I saw it in the theater and then I saw it, I think, once on DVD after it came out, and that was about it. I haven't really ever gone back to watch it again, so I'm sure it's on Netflix or something, right?
I don't know. Try to look into that.
All right. Well, JD, you're number one.
My favorite comic book story. It's I'm not a big fan of rereading something once I've read it. Like I can watch movies multiple times, but like with reading, I have a hard time. It's not because I'm bored with it. It's just because I just want to read more stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I reread something, that's time I'm losing in reading something else. That's just me. Crazy thing. This is a book I've read multiple times, probably 7 or 8 times, and for me that's a lot. Because the story resonates so close to me. And I stopped reading comics in the mid to late 90s because I think everyone pretty much agrees they got very gimmicky. With like your Death of Supermans and your Spider-Man clone sagas and your Batman broken, Green Lantern murders people. Like I said, it got very not fun. And when this book came out, I missed it originally, but it was impossible to ignore the art because Alex Ross became such a transcendent artist that I didn't. When I started reading comics again, and I started reading comics, not the weekly stuff, but I started reading comics again about 22, 23, and one of the first things I picked up was Kingdom Come, and the story spoke to me so closely because you don't really need to read weekly comics or even have a firm understanding of comics to appreciate the story. You just have to have a vague familiarity of who these characters are and what they represent. And 25 years after the fact, you miss a lot of the social commentary because like comics today aren't like they were in the mid 90s. They aren't like ultra violent and Liefeldy, which is kind of what they were poking fun at.
Mm-hmm.
But it still works. It's still the story of Superman who turned his back on the world because he lost the only thing he loved and coming back to try to fix the world. And while doing it, he winds up becoming everything he ever hated. And like to have the story told through the perspective of a faithless preacher is just, it's brilliant film. It's filmmaking. That's what I almost played to filmmaking. It's so good. It could be a film. It's such brilliant comic making between Alex Ross's photorealistic paintings and Mark Waid's brilliant words. I don't think Mark Waid ever wrote anything better than this. And I think he's a fantastic writer, but this is just everything. Like when people say, "How I want to read comics, what should I read?" I recommend Kingdom Come. This is the first thing I recommend to people because it is out of continuity. It's an easy read. It's only 4 issues and it works perfect in a trade paperback form. And my dog-eared copy might get read tonight, actually, because I'm talking about it again, feeling good.
So that was on my short list too.
So my commentary to that is that book. I actually read Marvels before that, which is what made me fall in love with Alex Ross. And though it is an awesome story, it did give us the idea of Superman and Wonder Woman.
That's true.
Together, which I never liked.
I didn't like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's an alternate universe story, so I'll make an exception for it.
Well, yeah. It was good there. It was not good in the recent DC animated stories where it made no absolute fucking sense at all.
No, I agree, and it should have stayed in a 4-issue self-contained trade paperback Elseworlds thing.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Just don't work.
No. Johnny boy.
Okay, number 5. Yes.
Are you drinking again?
Yes, tea.
One has to stop before one starts again.
Oh, very good. So yes, this next one is an Eisner, Harvey, and Schuster Award winner. Okay, and let's see if you can guess it. It was written and drawn by Darwin Cook. Ringing any bells? Probably not. You're both Marvel guys.
No. I'm a DC guy. You're talking about New Frontier, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, New Frontier. Because like the visuals are pretty stunning, and the storyline is one of like pure hope, and I'm drawn to that stuff because my life hasn't been wonderful, and it's kind of nice to read a book where they're showing you the best of the heroes, right? And it takes place between 1945 and 1960, and you're shown like the original Golden Age heroes like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and then the coming of the next wave of heroes like Flash and Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter, to name the mains. And Darwin Cook, his afterword is like almost the best part of everything in this. And he wrote, "The world will always have dark corners, and black and white comes in thousands of shades of gray. But there are 7 people, the Justice League, good and true, come what may. They have the power to enslave the world, but work tirelessly to keep it free. I suppose only a child could buy into such a ridiculous premise. But once it's in your heart, you can't help but take that little scrap of magic forward with you." And that's basically a description of the entire premise of it. I mean, there are some fantastical parts of this, like the center, the all-consuming beast that comes up from the ocean, all that, and the dinosaurs. But the whole point of the book is based around a couple of the main characters, like Martian Manhunter. They follow Martian Manhunter's the Flash and
Green Lantern.
And Green Lantern, right? And they're basically showing you heroes becoming heroes and deciding to take that step forward to the light, no matter how hard it is and no matter what they have to go through. And then inspiring like the heroes that have been beaten down by basically McCarthyism at the time, which, for you younger people, that was a time when we literally almost had secret police in the United States, almost akin to what we have today, except that everybody was being accused of being a communist, and people's lives were ruined. And
fascism in the U.S., man.
Yep, it's exactly what it was. And it look it up. You should know that part of history. But so it shows us coming out of that and moving towards a more hopeful time. And it kind of ends with JFK getting elected. It's something I think everybody, again, another out of continuity book or series, but it's a 6-issue, but you probably get it as a graphic novel, and it's just a really nice read. You can't help but keep turning the pages.
It's fantastic. It's such a good book. I love the art, some of the art choices that Cook makes. Like when you first meet Batman, it's the 39 Batman with the ears that kind of point out 45 degrees. But then as the story goes along, his suit changes to where at the end he looks more like the Dick Sprang Batman.
Yep.
And then Wonder Woman being bigger than Batman is such a cool. I'm sorry, Wonder Woman being bigger than Superman is such a cool visual choice that Cook makes that just shows you how powerful she is. It's such a great book.
Yeah, and it starts with Superman going to find Wonder Woman in Vietnam, where she basically she freed a bunch of women who were being used as like slaves and bad things, and let them murder their captors, which was not out of. It's just the choices they made for some of the characterizations are just, you start from a very dark place and they move towards being real heroes, and it's a nice read, and it you get into a dark place, this would be something you want to keep next to your bed.
Did they not make an animated film of that?
Yes, they did. They did.
Okay, because I've seen the movie. I don't think I've read the book. So
the animated show is a bit different.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's it still has that feeling to it. The book, I think, is better, but the animated movie was like, compared to other the animated movies, it was like one of the best.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, my choice to round this out. So JD, you poo-pooed on the Clone Saga, so I got to change it now.
No, don't poo-poo the Clone. I actually like the Clone Saga. I've grown to appreciate it as I've gotten older. But at 13, I didn't care for it.
It wasn't the Clone Saga.
Oh, okay.
I was going to joke around and put it on the list, just to honor our good friend Tom DeFalco, but no. So if anyone asks me who my favorite character is, of course, I always say Spider-Man. But in all honesty, I didn't read, when I was little and younger, I didn't read a lot of Spider-Man at first. I did gravitate towards more Captain America and Superman, And then I read a Spider-Man, and I would get Spider-Man once in a while, but I read a story that it was a back issue, and it really cemented to me who the character Spider-Man was. So it's Roger Stern and John Romita Jr., 1982. Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut.
Oh, okay.
So anyone who's familiar with the story, Black Tom Cassidy hires the Juggernaut to capture Madam Web, right? And she gets a vision of this and asks Spider-Man to help her, and Spider-Man tries to stop the Juggernaut over and over and over again.
Oh, I've heard this one, yeah.
And he keeps failing at it. And then the Juggernaut actually gets to Madam Web, takes her out of her chair, which people don't know that's like a life support for her. So she starts to die, and he's just like, she's useless, and drops her, and then, goes off. And, she gets to the hospital, she's okay, but Spider-Man finally stops him by the end of the book by getting him encased in a thing of cement. And the whole point was, like, it showed me, like, he's a character that doesn't give up. He's given a task, and he keeps at it until he's successful, until he wins, or he dies. And, like, that's kind of what cemented me, like, I like this character, and then I started reading a lot more, and then Todd McFarlane came along and started doing the art, and I really fell in love with the book at that point. But
Toddy McSpidey.
Well, and the way he drew Mary Jane, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, and it's funny because you said about you rereading, Kingdom Come over and over again. I actually have the two Amazing Spider-Man issues that it's in, but I have a collected book, and it's just 2 issues. It's just a 2-part story. And they called it The Sensational Spider-Man, and I actually have probably read that like 40, 50 times, because it's also a quick read. It's only, it's only 2 issues long, but yeah, I just love that story.
It's a great one. JMS tried to ape it a little bit during his run when they did the first Morbius story, but it wasn't, it didn't hit me quite as good as that original Roger Stern one did.
Yeah. And it's funny because I didn't even know, I didn't really know who Madam Web was until that story, And then, of course, I've read a lot of other Spider-Man books that she's been in, and it's like, she's an interesting character. They have yet to use her live action. I'm kind of curious if they're going to tap into her character at some point or not. It'd be interesting to see if they do her in the Multiverse of Madness. That would be where you could introduce her, I think. So
they could still introduce her in the into the Spider-Verse.
I think that's probably more likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it kind of fits. I mean, Madam Web and this, they got all the different Spider-Men. But we could always see Tom Holland poke his head in, with that. So
you guys have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, Brian Bendis and Mark Bagley's 100+ issue run on Ultimate Spider-Man. That made my honorable mention.
Okay, cool. John?
No, I mean, like, you guys covered most of the ones that I would have had in my honorable mentions. You know, like, Kingdom Come was on my list too. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, the only other thing I could think of is maybe the run for Batman Beyond or Static Shock. Yeah, because Static Shock was written so well that, of course, they have, for some reason, haven't brought him into the freaking movies yet or anything.
What if there's a rights thing with him being a milestone character as opposed to a DC proper character?
Probably.
My honorable mention is Peter David and Jim Buckler. Their story in Spectacular Spider-Man, The Death of Jean DeWolf.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with him.
So, and if anyone ever wants to pick it up, here's a small spoiler. It's the story where Spider-Man finds out Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and Matt Murdock finds out Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So, if you ever wondered how do they know who they are,
I forget. Was that pre-Black Suit or post-Black Suit?
Black Suit. It's a Black Suit story.
When do they find out the turtles are underneath the city?
You know what, John?
You lost me on that one, brother.
Yeah.
The same chemical that gave Daredevil his powers also turned the turtles.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Deep cuts.
Yeah, but how come the turtles seem to pop up in DC stuff? Well, Teen Titans Go. Like,
those weren't the actual turtles. Those were pseudo turtles.
Oh, okay. All right. So there you go. There was some comics talk on a comic book podcast finally.
I think we should do more of this stuff, man. Like, maybe say, hey, read this or something like that and talk about it, because, like, there's not a lot of stuff going on right now.
No, there isn't.
You know?
So I'm going to leave this out to the audience. You know, I mean, especially people I know that are listening, like Randy and Joey from the So Wizard and Cult 45 podcasts, and Mark Ellis. Like, guys, if there's any books you want to hear us talk about, let us know, and we'll make sure that if we haven't read them, we'll read them and we'll review them on the show.
That sounds fun.
So on that note, do you guys have any recommendations for the audience?
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I needed a break this weekend, and I stumbled onto, John will be proud of me, an anime show.
Oh!
Ooh,
but it's hold on.
How many syllables in the title?
Several. Transformers: Fall of Cybertron.
Oh, that's not anime, dude. Sorry.
It's anime. It's animated for a guy like me that doesn't watch a whole lot of stuff.
No, it's animation. But go ahead.
That's fine.
I've heard good things about it. I haven't seen it yet. So
really, really good. Like, it's the most adult Transformers cartoon show I've ever seen. But I say adult, I don't mean there's like adult situations. I mean, like, the story just it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit bleaker. You get an Optimus Prime that's world weary and not sure if he's doing the right thing. The Decepticons rule the Cybertron, and the Autobots are trying to survive. There's quite a bit of death, and there's real stakes and real human emotions and situations between the characters. It was shockingly good. It's only 6 episodes, and it took me 2 nights to watch it. It was good. It was great. I can't say enough good things about it.
Huh. Well, I'm adding that to my list.
How about you, Johnny boy?
Okay, well, actually, first off, I'd say, since we talked about it, if you want, like, rent or buy the animations for All-Star Superman and the New Frontier. They're well worth a watch. They're very, very good. And well, it would have been really hard to go wrong with the material they were sourced from. But on the anime side, I'm gonna give you another anime show to watch. It's It's called this one's easy. It's called The God of High School.
I think I went to high school with some guys that thought like that.
Yeah. It's a South Korean anime. Well, it's a South Korean story, comic, and it was serialized in the Webtoon platform, and Crunchyroll, that is a service that lets you watch all animation, picked it up, and they paid for the actual anime for it, and it is some of the best animation around, and the fights in it are simply amazing. The physics of the fights and how well the fights were choreographed are just brilliant. And it's only 5 episodes out so far. It's going to be another episode out each week for a while now. And I think it's only the second collaboration and the second animation that's been done from the Webtoon platform, which historically has been poo-pooed by the anime community, and now it's showing just how strong some of the storylines are that could be adapted. So that's it.
Okay, cool. Well, I will recommend that people go over to superheroespeak.com, where they can find the podcast every week, and there is a new review up by our good friend D Square. It is hold on, I don't even remember what book it was. It is Quantum and Woody number 4. He's actually really enjoying the series. I have not checked it out yet, which is sad because he gets all the books to review from me. So that's a whole nother story. But yeah, it's like he's loving it. He's given them all 8s and 9s so far, so it's definitely worth checking out. At least see what he has to say about it on the website. And yeah, I haven't been doing much. I'm going to recommend people go check out the movie pitch series on Screen Rant on YouTube. It's Ryan George is the comedian who does them. He's hilarious. He actually has his own channel too, and he does the first guy to kidnap someone, or the first guy to go to jail, or and it's just
the first guy to own a cat is one of my favorites.
Okay, yeah, and it's just ridiculous, you know. The first guy to kidnap someone, he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep him in a little room until you give me some money, and they're like, well, why don't we just come and get you and put you in a little room? And they're like, well, isn't that just taking my idea? Yeah, so yeah, that's what I've been watching, and they're funny, so I recommend it. So yeah, there you go. On that note, boys and girls, thanks for listening, and don't let your cape be caught in the door. Have a good week.